I want to start by saying 38M, love my family and wife, 35F, and I have never been the type to do anything like this before. 12 months ago, my wife converted to a new religion, which included her giving up eating meat. The whole family, me and our two young boys, were supportive of this, and we held a vegetarian-only dinner that night as a little sign of support. Life continues for another 8 months basically unchanged. The boys and I eat meat, and my wife doesn't. However, things start to change around that 8 to 10 month marker. Can't remember exactly. Basically, along with not eating meat, my wife now no longer wanted to be around it. This wasn't the only thing. Things continued to progress. Basically, my wife started to replace things in the house with substitutes. First, the pork in the house was swapped out for jackfruit, eggs were swapped out for substitutes like Just Egg, shirts were only bought from clean brands like plant-based clothing, and deodorants were swapped out for deodorant pills like Go Scentless. You get the idea. To say this was creating a rift would be an understatement, and eventually, I brought up to our wife that again, while we 100% support her in her decisions around these things, I didn't think it should change things for the boys and me, unless, of course, they wanted it. Wife argued that her values have changed and that being around some of this stuff was really hard for her and wanted us to support her. For the next 2 to 3 months, the house was a place of pretty high tension. It had gotten so bad that the boys have friends bringing them meat from their houses since it was now completely gone from ours. Anyway, about a week ago my wife went away on a few-day-long business trip, meaning I was watching the boys Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Basically, and I'm a bit ashamed to type this out, but the boys and I mostly ate meat, basically every chance we got. This was all fine and dandy. The boys and I had a great time, until my wife returned home, and it somehow slipped out what we had done. I have never seen her so disappointed in us. After putting the boys to bed, we argued for hours about how I was setting a poor example for the boys, that I should respect the decisions made by my wife, even if they're tough and inconvenient. It's hard to argue back, because I can see her side, but it boils down simply to just I don't want to be vegetarian/vegan, and neither do the boys.
Comment 1. It's funny how you haven't told her to stop her eating choices, but she is quick to tell you to stop yours. Your wife is manipulating your good guy nature to guilt you into a choice you didn't make. She is 100% wrong for that. You need to take a harder stance and let her know this support she wants comes with a cost. Her forcing her choices on all of you will result in respect being lost. In the end, people can't live unhappy. They will remove what makes them unhappy at some point. Comment 2. NTA. Why do you have to respect the decisions that she makes when she has no respect for the decisions that you make? You and your children need to have a say in your lifestyles. One person doesn't get to make unilateral decisions for everyone. She doesn't deserve respect at this point for forcing her decisions and beliefs on the rest of you. I see a lot of you saying you see her side, but not once does she try to see your side. That's pretty ducking selfish. This is a hill you should die on, as restricting certain foods as bad can lead to disordered eating in both you and your boys. Our son, 24M, has always had a complicated relationship with us, but he's very close to his aunts, my husband's younger sisters. When he was a teenager, he got into serious trouble for bullying another kid at school. My husband and I didn't know how to handle it, so we decided to punish him by not getting him anything for his 16th and 17th birthdays. We thought we were teaching him a lesson, but looking back, we realized it only drove him further away. After that, our son became more distant, and I still remember when he coldly told us we would regret how we treated him. We didn't take him seriously at the time, but now it's clear that his words weren't just a teenage outburst. Now, at 24, our son is financially successful but has cut us off entirely. When my husband had a medical emergency recently, we were struggling with the bills and reached out to him for help. He flatly refused, telling us to fuck off. This crushed my husband, who deeply regrets the way we handled things back then and wishes he could go back and make it right. Our son has a peculiar tendency to spoil all the women he considers family. He made amends with the girl he bullied in high school, and they're now good friends. He also lavishes attention and financial support on my husband's younger sisters, his aunts. They told us that he said he doesn't care who they help, even if it's us, but despite this, they're still hesitant to get involved. They've only helped us out a couple of times and are clearly reluctant to do more, likely because they don't want to jeopardize their close relationship with him. My husband is heartbroken. He's trying to reconnect with our son, but every time he reaches out for help or to mend things, he's met with anger or silence. I finally told my husband to stop asking our son for money. I feel like every time we ask, we push him further away, and I'm terrified that we'll never have a chance to repair our relationship if we keep this up. My husband is upset with me now, feeling like I'm giving up on our son. He's filled with regret and sadness over how things have turned out, but I just don't know what else to do. Comment 1. You're not the R for telling your husband to stop asking your kid, who has deliberately cut you off, for money. You were both Rs for asking at all. If you want to repair the relationship, then you have to realize that reconciliation is never going to be on your terms, it's on your son's terms. And it also sounds like you've not yet extended a real and genuine olive branch for him to feel like you two have changed. Comment 2. YTA. Not for telling your husband to stop asking your son for money, but because this entire post is about you getting money to the point you're even whining a little bit that the family members he does help out financially aren't giving you more money. You don't regret whatever it is you did to your son to make him hate you this much, you regret that you don't have access to his cash. Also, you guys always had a complicated relationship with your son, but you attribute all your problems with him to the point he cut you both out of his life to not getting him anything for his birthday for 2 years. Whatever he was referring to about how you guys treated him was not about a lack of birthday presents. My husband and I met near the end of university. We fell in love almost instantly and later got married. I never wanted or planned to have kids, but we ended up getting pregnant and the kid is now 8, and while we adore our 8-year-old, I'm still not a kid person. Recently my husband's childhood friend passed away, and at the funeral he reconnected with friends from high school and university. A mutual friend of theirs was not there, and after asking around about them, it turns out, she, mutual friend, went down a bad path and was never able to pull herself out of it and distanced herself from everyone and everything. We found an old FB account of hers. She had pictures of children, one of which looked identical to ours, not knowing anything about the kid. We joked around that it was my husband's. We were able to get in contact with mutual friend's sister. We found out just how bad things are for her, and we also found out that she's lost parental rights to her children. This got my husband more curious, and the more we found out about the child, the more likely it became she was my husband's. An opportunity came up to be able to establish paternity while I wasn't against it. I wanted to know what was the plan if we found out that the kid was actually his. Without ever talking to me, he assumed that if that were the case, then the kid would live with us. I told him that bringing another child into our home is a decision that we need to make together, and that I do not want to take in another child regardless of whose it is. This caused a heated argument. Days later we had a much calmer discussion. Again I stood my ground, saying that I do not want another child and that I understand if he wants to take her in, but that I want no part of that and I would be leaving. This once again upset him. He brought up the fact that we took in my niece for a year, and I reminded him that it was only a year. However, this child would be our responsibility until she's at least 18, and this wasn't the same. Not being able to really get anywhere ourselves, we told a couple close family and friends the situation, and they are all siding with him. Edit, answering some questions. The child is 12, my husband and I have been together 10 years. Comment 1. I'm calling fake. Your husband slept with this friend, was close enough to the friend to ask about her absence at this funeral, but he wasn't aware that she was pregnant after they slept together? And he wasn't her Facebook friend on her old account? She just got pregnant and disappeared before anyone noticed, and somehow he never found out she had a suspiciously aged kid until at least 9 years later? And she was on a bad path, whatever that means, but never reached out to him about this kid. And even though you just joked about a resemblance and hadn't cared to pay attention this friend for minimum 9 years, you reached out to this estranged friend's sister to ask questions? I don't believe any of it. Comment 2. YTA, you are selfish and thinking only of yourself. Your husband should have custody of his kids. He has a right to be in his daughter's life and vice versa. You need to talk through your feelings with a trained therapist. There is a vulnerable child out there with a father who wants to look after her. There are so many horror stories of kids in care. You come across as heartless. I'm honestly shocked at how mean your post is. My mom was a teen parent, so by the time I was getting married and having kids she was ready for a do-over, so I have 2 sisters, 5 and 3, who are close in age to my kids, 6, 3, and 1. I wish I could say we were all a happy extended family, but this causes a lot of tension. My mom and her husband parent a lot differently than my wife and I, which makes things super awkward when the kids are together. My wife also feels judged. Cherry on top, the 2 3-year-olds fucking hate each other. Needless to say, I don't get to see my mom much, but recently she invited us over to use their pool and have dinner. I was a bit anxious because eating together is usually a bad idea. My mom said she would make something simple as she knows my kids are picky. Now I'd just like to say they aren't the worst eaters. The 3-year-old is a normal 3-year-old and my 6-year-old prefers things on the bland side, but they are healthy kids and their doctor isn't worried. We got there and swam. I thought it was going well, and then my mom brought out dinner, grilled chicken and salad, and I just felt so defeated. My kids do eat veggies for the most part, but none of them are going to eat the feta cheese, or the olives, or the banana peppers, and honestly I feel like most kids wouldn't. It felt like an annoying flex. I saw my wife look like she was going to cry and I lost it. I screamed at my mom that once again she is taking a dig versus being an actual grandparent, and she might think she is the world's greatest mom, but I feel bad for my kids because she sucks as a grandparent. My mom acted dumbfounded and we took the kids and went home. She texted me later that she has no idea why I'm mad at her. I should know that is a simple meal for them, but then she fucked up and admitted she was going to do chicken nuggets, but the only ones she had coconut in them, and my son is allergic, so to me she admitted she knew that wasn't a simple meal. Comment 1. You screamed at your mom because you believed that your kids, who had not actually said anything or taken a bite of the food, would refuse to eat some of the ingredients in a salad that was served as one part of a larger meal? This isn't about the salad. And the whole bit where you crow that she fucked up and admitted that she subbed in grilled chicken instead of chicken nuggets? That's not a fuck up, that's her telling you that she chose a simple meal, chicken, because you asked her to, and chose that particular chicken because she was accommodating your child's allergies. This is about a simmering resentment you have against your mom for other reasons. YTA, get therapy, and let your own kids decide what they do and don't like to eat. Comment 2. 1000% this. Also, it's okay for your kids to be introduced to food/situations that aren't 100% the way they would want them, because unideal situations are something that will come up a million times over as they grow up. As long as they're safe, of course. You had an opportunity here to help your children learn how to navigate what they might have seen as a less than perfect meal with grace and politeness by figuring out parts of the meal they will enjoy and possibly trying something new. Banana peppers, maybe I'll hate it, maybe I'll find vinegary foods are my new favorite thing, bring on the pickles. Instead, the lesson that you instilled in them is that when they don't get exactly what they want, they get to have an absolute meltdown, scream at people, and leave. So good luck with that.